You're listening to China Manufacturing Decoded from the Sofeast Group. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Adrian hosting. Kate joins me. Kate, who leads our supply chain management team here at the Sofeast Group. And Kate, we're in January, and in early January, you went to Las Vegas and went to CES 2026. So that's what we're talking about today. So I'm hoping to get some of your insights. Who were the movers and shakers at CES? What was new? What was kind of still going on? And I'm guessing AI is kind of like, that's been quite big in previous years and now. Yeah, and basically, what do you think that our listeners need to know about? So, hello again, welcome back.
Thank you, Adrian. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm happy to be back on our podcast in 2026. I'm coming back with exciting insights from CES that indeed I've been traveling just recently at the beginning of January. And I think this CES was quite special, and it's definitely worth to talk about it and to let our listeners learn about still the biggest tech event of the year. And let's start from start. So just to give like total numbers. So this year it was about 150,000 attendees overall, with 1/3 of them being international visitors, and about more than 4,000 of exhibitors from various countries. So that's making this CES the biggest post-pandemic show. So it's finally getting back on track with lots of exhibitors. This year was also special as we could see more senior executives, so more than 50% were senior management. So that really means like real deals going on. So just as a heads up to our listeners, it's a massive networking event. You can meet global hardware partners, investors, potential collaborators in person. So that's just perfect for turning ideas into prototypes or apps or whatever quickly. So I definitely recommend everyone who has an opportunity to visit CES next year as well. Yeah, so that's for overall. Then let's see about main things I noticed this year, because I've been to CES a couple of years in a row now. And we even at some point we were exhibiting at Eureka Park at CES. And the main thing that I noticed this year is that is a huge surge of Chinese suppliers in Eureka Park specifically, and or overall as well. But overall it's been the case before, but for Eureka Park, I've never seen such a big number of Chinese exhibitors. It's been more like Western startups area before, but right now, it's been like taken over by Chinese suppliers. And I think I was thinking about it and reading a bit as well. So I think there are some reasons behind it that we are going to talk about. So overall, China had about 1,000 of total exhibitors, so second largest after US, and about like 25% of total number of exhibitors. And as I mentioned, in Eureka Park, which is like, I guess our listeners know, but this is like the main startup pavilion for some innovative products that are not yet out in the market, are not yet in mass production. So usually that's the most interesting pavilion to see, apart from convention center, where you will see like big companies with like huge, nice cars, nice inventions. That one is just like great to see. But Eureka Park is something that if you're looking for innovative products, something new in the market, you need to see some new trends, this is where you would go. And now we had like about 120, I think I read, Chinese startups in Eureka Park alone, and they are dominating AI robotics, as Adrian, you mentioned. So in robotics, we had about 600 of total exhibitors, with like 25% from China. And the big trend of this year is humanoid robots. And this is more than half, if not more, coming from China. And many of them are already shipping affordable models for factories, healthcare, homes. Like there is this nice Chinese company called Unit 3, and they supply humanoid robots already. And they were also at Eureka Park, and that's so cool. Like you can you can teach them what application you want, so you can develop your app basically and teach a robot to do what you want them to do. They have like different models, like bigger, smaller, for home, for taller industrial ones, like entry level, different stuff, and prices start from like 13K US dollars, I think, and it can work like for for old people, for caregivers, for folding your laundry, for doing some
Oh,
cooking
that sounds good.
stuff.
Sounds good to me.
Yep,
So
exactly.
did you
So
buy
like
one then?
make. Ah, I wish not yet, but yeah,
Okay.
thinking about it. So yeah, so you'll have a person who will fold your laundry. You'll have a person, humanoid, not a person, who will make. But we don't never know what happens next. Making a coffee, some cooking stuff. I mean, it's amazing. Is honestly is amazing where we are
'Cause you see,
going.
you
Uh,
see
y-
some videos of these, and they're like going wrong and falling over. Not the ones that you're talking about. And I don't know whether people generally realize that the Chinese are making robots that use AI that are so advanced. Actually, they just see like the memes where
yeah,
the robot sort of randomly falls
yeah.
over and whatever. But that's not what you saw, right?
That's not what I saw there. So there are some big Chinese companies that they have innovation centers, and they are doing like one brain, many machines
Wow.
robots. So basically, one robot can do multiple tasks depending on how you program it and what app you have to control. And they're I mean, it was fun. Like at CES, they showed like you could do boxing with a robot, for example,
Oh,
or it's like smashing watermelons, like some fun stuff. But of course, it can do much more that will be useful for people. And so this is the biggest trend I can say of CS this year. And China has a huge advantage there because it's fast and cheaper hardware scaling. They have integrated supply chain, nothing changed there, and they turn AI concept into real product quickly. So everything is AI powered now, and they excel at physical AI. So it's AI in real world devices, robots. It's not only AI on display anymore. And this is like there's a big trend, and this is where they are big right now. And for our developers who are thinking into this trend, this lowers barriers to entry because you can get affordable Chinese hardware, meaning easier prototyping for your software apps. You get robot control API or whatever, like Vision AI. Of course, need to watch the trade rules as well. I think there was like some Chinese drone company post US sales because they got like highly regulated. So this kind of things need to keep in mind. But for like household, for logistics, for warehousing, I think this is all very valid and very real. Uh, so
yeah,
that's the main thing
for now,
for
I'd
now,
be a
at
little
least.
bit
Yeah.
concerned that if you are in that space and you're trying to use Chinese AI software in your product or bring in products which are connected with Chinese AI in general, that's going to become more tightly regulated in the West, perhaps.
Well, yes, probably, but also I could see some big players there, like Kitech, like Nvidia, Siemens, Industrial AI. They're making their operating systems for engineering physical systems, like Edge AI for on devices, like Ryzen chips, Qualcomm for robots. So, like all these big players, tech companies, they're developing their own like operational systems, chips for humanoids, for robots. So you see, this is like a huge trend. So it is not only in China, but all big players are actually investing into
Okay,
it a lot.
okay, good.
Yes, and yeah, and also we could see some like Hyundai Korean bus was the biggest. I will talk about it as well. So they have like supply Boston Dynamics Atlas for Hyundai factories. So
Mm.
like some factory workers, also LG, they have this concept of zero labor home. right now. So basically, they use the robots for all the home chores to do.
Sounds like a
So
dream.
that's my dream
If I can get
exactly.
one that does the washing up for me, I will be truly happy.
Exactly, yes. So, so then also, there is like a huge, I think in parallel, there is a huge push for technology behind. So there is like edge on device push for low power interference so that AI can run locally. So it can be faster, it can be private to you. You don't need constantly to use some external cloud, for
Mm.
example. So on technology wise, it's been also actively developing. So I think for developers, if you focus on software, so like some APIs for robot control, optimizing vision AI, focus on low power devices, or I don't know, crowdsource data platforms for training. Like this is something that on hardware side for sure.
Mm. Yeah, that's fascinating. And we're going to see a lot more going on in that space. What else did you see?
So the main one was AI and humanoids and all these trends that we've just spoken about.
Mm.
Beside that, besides like the biggest Chinese presence, CES did have a big global presence this year as well. So France, for example, had a huge number of startups, over 100. They had collective pavilions, they had separate booths along Eureka Park and also along different CS ventures. Also focusing on creative software, AI, also health tech, mobility, B2B like cybersecurity, smart city management, something like that. So basically mix of consumer and industrial tech, but
Mm.
has some sort of Euro vibe. The biggest pavilion was Korean as well. Is I think as usual, more or less usual. They're third largest after US and China. About 900 exhibitors. They had integrated pavilion, but also of course they had like separate pavilions with big names like Samsung, LG, Hyundai. They're strong in displays, mobility, also industrial AI. So that's a huge present. Others, Hong Kong as well. So had some healthcare, robotics, AI, some Asian exhibitors as well. So I think that's also interesting for partnerships. You can use, especially if we're talking about regulated software, you can use, for example, French software or AI assistants, OpenAI, Google integrations, and then you have some other combinations with hardware.
Mm.
So that's interesting to see and interesting to see how the world is developing in a kind of same direction, but a bit different flavors, if I can say so. And so, that's huge. On top of that, there were some funny things, like like AI dog collars, for example, or fun one Lego smart bricks, for example, like with VR that lets you build Lego but with VR technology. So that's fun. Also, I saw some transparent displays. Yeah, it's a bit. It's not only useful; it's a fun event as well. You can see like really interesting technology. A lot of what else? A lot of tracking, and I think I read in Forbes, and Forbes mentioned that this is like one of the biggest things in this year, that everything is being tracked. And like you get your all your health conditions being tracked, everything, like you have cameras everywhere, sensors, optics. So that's a big trend here. Yes, and a lot of wearables in general, wearables that track metabolism, for example, and they build some diagnostic, a lot of monitoring apps for different health conditions, a lot of related to caregiving or like elderly people management, more or less.
Yeah.
Again, so this kind of things is huge,
Mm.
huge. Yeah,
Well, this has been a trend for a few years, hasn't it? So, and it's not going to go away as people are aging, especially with the elder care stuff. Like I know we've worked with some customers who have been creating sort of this kind of product as well.
Yeah, definitely. So we had customers who've been developing different kind of wearables, starting with rings to head loops to some other devices that were stuck to various parts of your body, more or less, to track
Absolutely.
different condition. And this is developing more and more. So I think every possible potential issue that you may have with your body will be tracked seriously from now on. So, and then using some AI to give you some insights. Also, I saw some AI smart manufacturing, I think, in Israeli booth. So like you can get any cosmetics raw material mixed for you, but AI will give you the suggestion how to do, so you can make different creams or even some medicine or some, I don't know, some whatever solutions to help you. So yeah, this is getting big, this stuff. Also, I had time to talk to different exhibitors, and I was interested about obviously about manufacturing and contract manufacturing, what's their plan, what's their experience, and so and so. And many tried shifting production overseas, so the topic that we've been discussing for a few years by now. So Mexico or Southeast Asia, India, for either for diversification or for tariffs. But I would say I was not very surprised. But yeah, a lot I learned that they're circling back to China now, at least for initial runs and or for co-production. So I could make a conclusion that China is still unbeatable in speed, in rapid prototyping, also in a full ecosystem. So like from PCB to final testing in one place, in cost, of course, expertise also for now for complex AI, electronics, robotics. Basically, if you do it overseas, this often means longer times, quality issues, hidden costs. Here, you can do it all in one. And yeah, with new AI, I think China is again basically on top of things with all the AI stuff going on. There are people who are doing hybrid. So they start in China for quick scaling, reliability, and then later they try to diversify when the need arises. So that's also feasible. So yeah, the take for our listeners is that there is like China still offers easier access to affordable partners, and so you can do fast prototyping, prototype hardware without huge upfront costs. And then based on the needs, you can see how you can scale your product, either with partly moving outside or doing parallel or keeping in China. It's all about mathematics, about your what you need and how much it will cost, and then you can make a formula that works for you only. So there is not one single recipe here to advise, but it's been a fun discussion, and we've talked to many creators, many developers, and most of them are considering to start in China or to produce in China without any shift. So that's that's kind of new compared to discussions we had last year's at CES.
So to be clear, were a lot of these businesses that you spoke to American?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
That's
So maybe that's a result, because obviously we know that there's tariffs on a lot of Chinese goods that would go into the States. Either there's like a flat tariff or there might be special ones. But I think generally speaking, the tariffs were somewhat lowered. So maybe
yeah.
that's given American importers still more of an incentive to say, yeah, okay, the tariffs are higher than they used to be, but it's still more than feasible to produce in China.
Exactly, yes. So you get all the advantages China used to have. Now you have new advantages of AI technologies being integrated into physical products fast and cheap, and they have like huge robotics models available for you to customize. And at the same time, seeing what's going on in other countries of the world, not giving names, gives you an idea that even if you switch to another country, you never know what will happen in 1 month. So it doesn't really help for you to build a predictable supply chain. So in this case, at least you have other factors in place that work well, and you can build your strategy based on that, and then see what happens. So this is basically what I get from most developers, US developers companies. At the end, as I said, it's mathematics. You can always calculate what works for you. Depends on your needs, on your product, on your market, on how far you're going to scale, and like what's your plan. And here at Sofeast, we can also always discuss and think of a right strategy that would work for you, and we can support you on multiple things, both in China and outside.
Excellent. What a way to wrap up. And yeah, so for some no-nonsense advice, obviously do get in touch. That'd be great. And Kate and her team will do what they can to help with your project, regardless of whether you're American or elsewhere in the world. And it was good for me to hear about, first of all, the main trends that you've seen. I mean, everybody would guess it's something to do with AI, but the robots and how advanced they are, that's something that needs to be seen to be believed. And I think there are there's some news articles and videos and stuff online. So I'm going to link to some of these in the show notes so you can actually have a look at what Kate's talking about, like in terms of videos. I think that's worth doing. And also to hear about how the link between manufacturers in the US and actually doing production or R&D and prototyping in China, maybe it's been diminished to a degree, but it's not been broken at all at the moment, regardless of the tariffs. So I think that's quite interesting, if certainly for American listeners as well. So thanks for sharing your insights, Kate. Appreciate that.
My pleasure. Absolutely.
Lovely. So we'll wrap it up now. We'll be back next week as normal, and I'm sure we will invite Kate back on quite soon too. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for listening to this podcast, brought to you by the Sofeast Group. We're on a mission to provide you with everything you need to manufacture effectively in Asia, including inspections, auditing, new product development support, contract manufacturing, 3PL warehousing and fulfillment, and much, much more across Asia's key manufacturing areas. Visit us at sofeast.com, that's SOFEAST.com, to learn more and get help. If you've enjoyed the podcast today, please do rate, review and share, because it will really help others discover us too.